welcome to Where Are They Now? I am your host, Heather Lindstead, class of 1985. Today I am so excited to be talking to Cynthia Chase, Dr. Cynthia Chase, although she doesn't like to put the title there, class of 1964. Yes. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. You know, we're so proud of our alumni at Chelmsford High and those kind of things. And a brief talk to you, though. You didn't start in Chelmsford.
No,
So,
I was in Lowell from grades 1 through 8, and then came to Chelmsford as the new kid in high school, which was good timing.
Yeah.
Really good timing.
And what was the change for your parents to leave Lowell, or it was just work-related?
I have two older brothers who were out of the house and gone, and they were looking for a new house.
Yeah. And you landed in Chelmsford.
Yeah, good
and
thing.
So, how long have you been in Chelmsford? And around?
I went to high school here, obviously, and then I went to college. And after college, I lived around Boston. And then I went to Cincinnati for 4 years for graduate school. Came back to Boston, but didn't live in Chelmsford.
Yeah.
And then when my kids, who are now in their mid-late 30s, were like 2 and 4, we moved to Chelmsford, bought a house here, and have been here ever since.
Ever since, yeah.
Well,
it is funny that people do come back to the school system, you know. But let's talk about that. What was your experience at Chelmsford? Like, you know, were you involved in activities? And you have a long history of education, right? So you come to Chelmsford High. What was the experience about being the first kid, you know, the new kid on the block?
Right.
Finding new friends.
With two brothers who had gone to Lowell High.
Yeah.
You know, so it was new to me. The whole thing was new. It was exciting. I mean, it was socially exciting. It was intellectually exciting, you know. It was an easier place to be a really good student.
Okay.
Even though there are friends of mine who still call me an egghead.
Okay.
But it was a really nice balance of new life in high school. I was very busy with student government, and I'm trying to remember. Just lots of different activities.
Was there a teacher or two or a guidance counselor that kind of that stood out? I mean, as you
several of my English teachers stood out as women, actually, who were strong. Marjorie Scaborio was a math teacher, also, and I wish I had been her friend.
Okay.
You know, she was an excellent teacher, and there were several other English teachers that were very just helpful and personable and interested and asked me what I was reading or, you know, something just.
Yeah. So was it your parents or the school system that kind of drove you to picking Mount Holyoke, right? And going out there and kind of what you thought you were going to major in? I mean, sometimes
I don't think I knew. I really don't think I knew when I went. I know I didn't. My parents were very conservative. They loved me to death. Yeah. But they, you know, they were comfortable with all-girls school, not the middle of a big city.
Yeah.
It had its. Mount Holyoke was very good for me, but it's quite secluded.
Yes.
And I was a scholar. You know, I had a social life, but I had to leave campus to have a social life. And whatever. So, but it really taught me to think, to write, to have confidence in myself. All good stuff.
Yeah. So from there, though, then, I mean, is it the undergrad that led you to?
Yes. My undergrad work included a lot of English, but I didn't major in English, and a lot of psychology. And part of the psychology introduced me to child psychology, and that really did it for me. There was actually what they called a lab school on campus, which was largely faculty kids. And it functioned also as a training place for students. So one of my assignments, maybe sophomore year, was to spend, I don't know, an hour and a half or something, twice a week, and behind the glass, watching a classroom and having selected a particular child to do a very detailed description of that child's behavior, language, development, emotional, whatever. I was fascinated.
Really? And that was it?
I was just fascinated. Yeah.
Wow.
At age, I think he was 4. Maybe he was 3 and a half, 4.
Right.
And that kind of, I've always been actually astounded at how much children can learn in those early years. To me, it's a miracle. It's amazing. It's just amazing to me that a 4-year-old can speak to you in paragraphs and ask interesting questions.
Yeah.
Remember one time my kids said from the back seat, they said, "Mom, where did all the languages come from?" You go, I'll have to pull over here. but the brains are just going.
Yeah.
It fascinated me.
Now, as a female, early 70s and stuff like that, I mean, you're out there at Mount Holyoke, and then, though, you made a pretty dramatic change, though.
Well, I came to Boston.
Yeah.
And, took a job.
Yeah.
I took a job in Children's Protective Services, which is the Massachusetts Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Children. And they gave me a car and 15 or 20 of the most dysfunctional families they could find.
Yeah.
And said, well, go out there and see what you can do to help. I had a headache every day at 10:30 to 11, and I thought, this must be what it's like to be a grown-up.
Right.
You have a job, it's intense, and I was kind of overwhelmed. But it definitely, again, sort of gave me a glimpse
of
something that I was very interested in.
Right.
And 2 years of the society wanted you to work, and then they would pay your tuition to social work school.
Right.
And I thought, I'm really interested in people, I'm really interested in stories and what I can do to be helpful, but I don't see the people, the women I'm working with who have degrees, at least in this agency, as having enough flexibility.
Okay.
I think my brain must have been growing itself because I'm thinking, okay, now I think I would like to get married and have children, and I think I'm going to need some flexibility here.
Right.
So it would really be kind of good if I could do some teaching or some research and some whatever, but I don't think social work is going to do that for me. I apologize to any social workers who are leaping off their sofas, but this is, this is the early 70s.
Well, don't worry though. I mean, I went into coaching, and there's no time for social time or family and stuff. So
I decided at that point that I would rather go for clinical psychology, which would give me more flexibility.
Okay. And out to Cincinnati.
And to Cincinnati, University of Cincinnati, which is an interesting place, much more southern than I thought it was going to be, but
really
a good school.
Yeah.
And a good school for me because it had excellent education, and it was a program where rather than going away at the end of your training for an internship for a year, you had increasing time per year in the agencies in Cincinnati. And Cincinnati's a little bit like Philadelphia or Boston in the sense there are a lot of clinics.
Okay.
Mental health and health.
Right.
Clinics, hospitals, whatever, interesting places to work. I loved that.
So you could get your hands
And because I was one of the students who was interested in children, they put me in each, child and or family.
Yeah. Is there a certain age group that you were always kind of looking at, or?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
As a neuropsychologist, and we'll talk about my work in the hospital, I did see primarily children and adolescents, but I also saw adults.
Okay.
But mainly children. And maybe from that very early interest in college, I'm someone who's always been interested in getting in there early to see if I can do something helpful, and I'd rather be doing it at ages 4 or 6 than 12 or 15.
Okay, right.
Right. So I've always been interested in children in general. Young children are, I'd
and
like
as
to
you
get
said, maybe hopefully making a big difference at age 4 and 5.
Right.
As compared to all of a sudden.
If someone in the middle of 2nd grade is not reading, let's not be waiting around till he's in 4th or the beginning of 5th and that kind of thing.
So describe how did the neuropsychology, the whole thing, come to fruition for you?
Well, one of the places I worked in Cincinnati was called the Hamilton Diagnostic Clinic. It covered a whole county, Hamilton County in Ohio. And it was a multidisciplinary clinic for children, complicated children, with medical and or developmental issues, usually both, and social and whatever.
Right.
And so children would come for a series of assessments, pediatric, neurological, psychological, et cetera. And then there would be team meeting where all those people would talk together. Again, I was fascinated.
Yeah, yeah.
And really enjoyed really understanding the child's history, the context, and how the psychology piece might fit in, rather than in isolation.
Yeah.
And so
that's where it came from.
That's where it came from.
Now, how about at the same time HIV was popular in
I worked at Boston City Hospital when it was Boston City Hospital from 1974. Right on through, actually. I stayed there my entire career.
Yeah.
HIV in Boston, in terms of children, didn't arrive until about 88.
Okay.
So I'd been at the hospital for a while, working a lot with children, maybe with head injury or sickle cell disease or whatever.
Yeah.
And then HIV really did pull in like a storm.
Yeah.
And physicians started saying, Cynthia, we have 2 boys up there who We're not sure, but we know that their mothers have been very ill. One of them, the mother's died. We think they might have HIV. Could you just go up and take a look at them?
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of a big piece of my career. I continued doing the more general neuropsychology things too, but there was money flowing, there was anxiety high as anything.
Right.
It was fascinating to watch all of us, pediatricians included, trying to cope and do our best job with something people really didn't totally understand.
Or want to talk about.
And yet children are looking right at you.
Right, yeah. Is there a case or something that really, like, early on sparked something for you, or is it every day you're learning something new?
I had more the sense of, oh, I wonder who's going to walk in the door today.
Yeah.
And one of the benefits of being a psychologist, neuropsychologist in the medical system is I had time. Maybe because the neuro in front of it, they thought, well, she does her own thing. And so I didn't have appointments every 15 or 30 minutes.
Okay.
If I was going to sit down with a family, I would take an hour and a half to 2 hours. I'd have the parents come in first, tell me the whole story.
Yep.
And, why now? And then I would have the child come in, and then before I even got going with, that for me was part of the assessment.
Yeah.
And before I even, started getting out the tests and the this and the that.
But is that why did you change sometimes to private practice then?
Well, that gets into a more practical issue.
Oh, okay.
If someone were going to say, should I become a psychologist? I think, well, it I think continues to be a bit of juggling the balls.
Okay.
Working in a big organization like a hospital,
Yep.
It's basically run for physicians.
Yep.
And when money gets tight, any kind of a psychologist or whatever might be
Okay.
out. So I managed to do a tap dance
Yep.
between psychiatry and pediatrics, research and clinical work and teaching, to keep them all going.
Okay.
And there were times, like when my first child was born,
Yeah.
I thought, I really can't work full time.
Yeah.
And I took some time off, actually, and opened an office in Brookline.
Yeah.
And did that for a while. So I did some of that.
Right.
And actually, as I retired, I'm now retired, and I was in a semi-retirement position starting about maybe 8 years ago for several years.
Yeah.
I had a private practice and a little bit of this and that, but not
Yeah.
the hospital and the big gig.
So you have 2 children, and
I do.
they went through the Chelmsford school system?
They did. They started in high school. They actually went to
Okay.
private elementary school and
Yeah.
junior high. And then they came to Chelmsford. And that was, I think, a little bit less of an easy transition. Just a silly story. My daughter came home the first day at Chelmsford High in tears. And she said, I'm never going in the cafeteria again. Nobody spoke to me. I couldn't sit with anybody.
Yeah.
And I tell that story not to be pathetic, because she had a wonderful time here.
Right.
And she was very active and very busy. But it just shows that, at that age, kids don't have the skills to say, you're new, come over, sit with us.
Right.
That kind of.
Right.
But it's a big contrast to her experience here, which was terrific. And my sons, too. They really thrived.
Yeah, everybody talks about it. I mean, there's always going to be a few things at any high school and those kind of things.
Yeah.
But I think once you get rolling, the community of Chelmsford, you find your niche.
Yeah.
I think that's what's nice,
And in
right?
many ways was very welcoming.
Yeah.
And allowed my kids to really find themselves. My daughters they're both very good students. And my daughter's always been a painter, artist person. I remember going to a parents' night and sitting in Eric Hoover's room and looking around at all the fabulous artwork. And I looked over and I thought there was a pencil drawing of it looked like an African woman, whatever that was. I thought, I wonder who did that. It was my daughter.
Really?
Really, literally, I had no idea.
Really?
And so the studio was part of her home while she was here.
Yeah.
My son discovered computer science here.
Okay.
And got terrific experience. He went on to BU, majored in computer science, and said, actually, Mom, the first year and a half, I kind of knew it.
At BU?
Because I had much better preparation than a lot of the students with me.
Yeah.
So I think that says a lot, and they're both.
I think we all say it about the faculty staff at Chelmsford High has always been inviting. And they want
there's a lot to choose from.
They want you to find your niche.
Yeah.
And I think that's a hard thing sometimes. And
right.
It sounds like you have not really found your niche. I mean, you throw all the balls up all the time with everything that you do. Are you still doing that? And do you still do research or write or?
No.
No?
No. I mean, I did a lot.
Officially retired or?
Yes. And, as a psychologist, you have a license, so it's a real, I did not renew my license 4 years ago.
And
it happened.
Because you were,
kind
tired?
of because I was done, but also, well, I'd planned to do it a little later.
Okay.
But my son and his wife announced that they were having twin boys.
Oh, okay.
In January of 2015, and I thought, now I was going to retire a little late, maybe a year after that, but I'm not, because they live in California, and I don't want work to interfere with my travel times.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
So, yeah.
Now, you said your daughter went out to Stanford. Are they both out in California?
Well, no, they did a switch.
They did?
They did a switch.
Okay.
My son, Chase, graduated from BU and was doing computer software development in Boston. My daughter had graduated from Stanford and stayed in California for, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
So I was making frequent trips out there. That was fine. I could have dinner with my son. And then she decided that her artistic self needed some nurturing, and applied to Pratt in New York.
New York, yeah.
And her dad was a RISD person, so there's always been that in our family.
Oh, okay.
And so she moved to Manhattan to go to Pratt, and within months, my son said, I went to this conference in San Francisco, and they want me to come out for a couple interviews.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye. So he lives in the Bay Area with his twins, and now a new baby.
Okay.
And my daughter lives in Brooklyn, runs a graphic design studio with another woman successfully, has a 18-month-old, lovely husband.
Yeah.
They're good.
Wow. So
and they both, as I said, they both would say, Chelmsford High was very good for us.
So, but you've got frequent flyer miles.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I've said to both of them, I want your kids to know me, so I'm going to either you come visit me or I'm coming to visit you, which is what we've been doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, it's strange, like watching young kids grow up. I mean, they're yours now, these grandchildren. You know what I mean? I'm sure when you were in your little world of working and having your own family, you don't see it as much. But is it different?
It is fun. It's fun. It's fun to watch twins.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's very fun to watch twins. But all of them are fabulous, of course. They're my grandchildren.
Right.
It's great fun to sit on the floor. And when I was getting up off the floor on Easter weekend with my 18-month-old granddaughter, I'm thinking, I can still do this, because I used to think, you're not going to be a child psychologist and do work with children if you can't sit on the floor and get up.
Right.
So, yeah, it's
so you're testing your flexibility. And
But it's just fun.
Yeah. So can you take your hat off, though, at any time? Like, or is it?
Well, as I try not to say much of anything.
Okay.
I think, but my kids are both great parents. They're married to people who are great parents, so it's not like I have a lot of advice, and I do think that one of the things at my age, regardless of being a psychologist or not, being a mother-in-law, a mother with grown children, is to keep your mouth shut. Okay. So you can pretty much.
So you can turn off your brain. Is that what you're telling people?
Well, I might be thinking. It's just whether it comes out my mouth or not.
So you don't officially turn off your brain in what you're trying to do, but So what did your parents, like, when you made all these decisions? What was their thought about this is what our daughter's going to do?
They were very supportive of me.
Yeah.
My mother didn't finish high school.
Okay.
And because they were in the Depression.
Yeah.
And my father started working at the First National Bank or whatever, Union Bank or whatever, at age 16 in Lowell, partially to support his parents.
Okay.
And so he went to college as he got into banking, and he worked for the Shawmut Bank forever. He was supporting his parents for the first 10 or 15 years of his career.
Yeah.
So the sense that they had children who had all this opportunity was, they were very grateful and they were very supportive.
Yeah.
And my brothers had gone to college, Lowell Tech and Mass Art and whatever.
Yeah.
Before me. And I remember my father saying very proudly, Sin, apply to any school that you want and we can do this.
Right.
Which I think for him was really a moment.
Right, because you're the only daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that in that time span probably was like, okay, but my daughter can do this.
Yeah.
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 They
were very,
very on top of it, huh?
Yeah. Proud. They were.
Yep.
Yeah.
And even when you went off to Cincinnati, they were like, keep going.
We'll come back.
Yeah.
Go, but
kind of like what you're trying to do with your kids. Come back.
I don't think that's going to work.
Or I'll keep traveling.
I'll keep traveling, I think.
So now, any last things that you're still doing in the town of Chelmsford, or?
Yeah, retirement's a change.
Okay.
But I actually, it's, you know, it sounds trite, but I'm happy to have a little more time to get to know my neighbors better.
Yeah.
You know, do what I feel like.
Yeah.
And so I'm part of the Country Lane Garden Club. The last time I sat under those lights, I was trying to get people to come to the plant sale.
Okay.
Last year, it's happening again, folks, May 18th.
Okay, it's coming up. Yep.
And I actually work for, as a volunteer for Power of Flowers, which is not in Chelmsford, but there are a lot of Chelmsford people involved, reusing flowers from weddings, funerals, banquets, etc.
Yeah.
They have a place on the grounds of Tewksbury Hospital.
Yeah.
And volunteers show up every morning except for Sunday. They've taken flowers and you know, culled them and put them in water to refresh them.
Yeah.
And then you make little bouquets in a coffee cup that are about big. And we might, most every day, we deliver like 85 to 130 bouquets to Meals on Wheels, nursing home, shelter.
Wow, that's
whatever.
wonderful.
It is wonderful, and it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
So you're getting your hands dirty in the garden.
Yeah. Oh, yes, yes. And I still live in the house everybody grew up in.
That's good.
Trying to keep the yard wet and whatever. And I belong to a couple book clubs, and
Yeah.
I think, oh, next Tuesday I have 2 books I have to have read.
There you
Get
go.
to it.
Well, Cynthia, I have to, honestly, this is an amazing resume that you have, and I'm so glad that you came back to share the story, and I'm so glad that Chelmsford was so good to you and your whole family in the education that you got. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so
I
your
was
parents
happy to
made it.
talk.
Your parents made a smart move moving to Chelmsford from Lowell.
They did.
Okay, super. Thank you everybody for tuning in and being part of Where Are They Now. I hope you come back and watch our future shows. Thank you again. That was wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
That's great. Thank you. Did you
Fabulous. You're so easy.